Have I just found the easiest to use and best sounding reverb plugin on the planet? Let's find out. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Home Studio Simplified channel. My question to you is, are you looking for a new reverb plugin, specifically one that you can get a good result quickly without having to know a lot about reverb in and of itself? Well, then look no further than the Sonible Smart Reverb. Now in this video, I hope to give you an in-depth look at the features and the functions of the reverb, as well as some of its best use scenarios, and then we can actually determine whether or not it's worth the price tag. And by the way, stick around to the end of this video because I'm going to show you how you can even win a copy of one of these. This Smart Reverb plugin by Sonible emulates various sonic spaces by utilizing intuitive processing parameters and creates subtle variations to those spaces according to the source material that's being used. So in simple terms, with a single click, the plugin analyzes the input audio and makes an appropriate reverb for that sound source on the fly. Now, here's where it gets cool, because the plugin creates reverb based on the source signal rather than working with presets or pre-recorded impulse responses. Therefore, it makes it easier for you to get that sound that you hear in your head into your DAW. Now, likewise, by having the freedom to browse through its reverb matrix, you can ensure that you'll be able to stay creative by basing your decisions off of descriptive properties instead of someone else's settings that's just been saved as a preset. Now, honestly, this is one of those plugins that you just have to see and hear in action to know just how awesome it really is. So let's hop over to the desktop and start creating some space. Okay, so now I have the Smart Reverb pulled into Cakewalk by BandLab, my DAW of choice, and we're going to be listening to this with several different sound sources or source materials. Now, these source materials are going to look very similar to those that were in the Sonible Smart EQ review, and if you haven't checked that review out, go and check that out now. It's yet again another amazing plugin by Sonible, and you're going to get to hear all of these same sound sources with their Smart EQ enabled. All right, so for the first sound source we're going to listen to, it's going to be a female vocalist. Let's listen to what that vocal sounds like dry, and then we will enable the plugin after that.
You've got a sacred heart, but you don't know how to use it. Always letting strangers take it and abuse it.
Okay, so now let's go ahead and switch the algorithm to vocals, as that's going to be the best fit for this. Enable the plugin, and we're going to go ahead and leave this at 100% wet, 100% dry. That should give us the best representation of how it's affecting the vocal with the original source blended in. And then later we can talk about some other customization options using all of these various settings here on the plugin itself. So let's go ahead and press play and allow it to be learned.
You've got a sacred heart, but you don't know how to use it. Always letting strangers take it and abuse it.
Okay, so that sounds amazing in and of itself right out of the gate, but here's where the customization options really come into play, because now I've got this wonderful little thing here called a matrix. So as I'm playing the vocal now, I'm going to begin to move this around in this matrix, and you have 4 different options: rich, natural, artificial, and intimate, and anything in between that you want to move it around this matrix with. So let's play around with this matrix feature and see exactly what we can come up with.
You've got a sacred heart, but you don't know how to use it. Always letting strangers take it and abuse it. You're so used to getting hurt now, it doesn't faze you. But you get kicked to the dirt, doesn't it amaze you? The things people do to feel loved. Without someone they don't feel good enough. Don't go searching.
Okay, so that right there, honestly, having mixed this song that the vocal was included in, that would be a perfect fit for that song. Now, I don't have the actual mix to be in context with that, but it sounds really good to my ears. Now, here's where you also have some other options. So this is your color section. This is where you can set the character of the reverb itself. Let's begin to play around with that a little bit now and see if we can get something that sounds even better than that.
You've got a sacred heart, but you don't know how to use it. Always letting strangers take it and abuse it. You're so used to getting hurt now, it doesn't faze you. but you get kicked to the dirt. And doesn't it amaze you, the things people do to feel loved? Without someone they don't feel good enough. Don't go searching, you're supposed to be found by the...
So as you can see, there's a lot of customization options there. And not to mention, you can kind of like just more or less use your ears rather than going off of hard and fast numbers. So by setting that width to 100, it definitely made the reverb sound wider. And it started to inhabit more of the left and right stereo field. Now, as I was adjusting the collar, it definitely did change the sonic structure of its collar. And by color, I mean the darkness or the brightness of it. And then for the clarity section of this is kind of a really cool little built-in feature where it's sort of like a pre-EQ that EQs the signal coming in, but doesn't affect the original track, just affects the reverb. So it's super cool, allows the clarity of that reverb to come through a little bit better, the intelligibility of it to come through a little bit better. And then we also have some really cool options that can be automated down here below. One of those options is the freeze function. So if I wanted to, I could...
You've got a sacred heart, but you don't know how to use it. Always letting strangers take it and abuse it. And you're so used to getting hurt now, it doesn't faze you. But you get kicked to the dirt, and doesn't it amaze you?
So as you can see, there are infinite possibilities. I could definitely see the infinite button being used with a lot of ambient music and the freeze as well. And there's just a lot of creativity that can be baked into this thing. Now, likewise, one thing that I didn't cover is the decay, the spread, and the density down here. You can also adjust those based off of what you like to hear. So let's mess around with those a little bit.
You've got a sacred heart, but you don't know how to use it. Always letting strangers take it and abuse it. And you're so used to getting hurt now, it doesn't faze you. But you get kicked to the dirt, and doesn't it amaze you, the things people do to feel loved? Without someone they don't feel good enough. Don't go searching, you're supposed to be found by the right one. But you just want someone now to pick up the pieces of your heart on the ground. But you'll forget all of them when you're found.
Wow. Okay. So with all of the tweakability features that are built in here, this is just amazing. So we've heard this on some female vocals and we've adjusted a lot of the parameters. Now we're going to kind of fly through some of these other examples now that you see sort of how all of the controls work. And this should help us to move along a little bit quicker and still give you a better representation of how it works on other sound sources. So let's go ahead and move away from the female vocals now and move on to these male vocals. So here are the male vocals dry.
I walk out into this silent midnight.
Okay, now let's bring up the reverb itself. We'll set it to vocals again, and we will allow it to learn the male vocals.
I walk out into this silent midnight. I look up at a lone star that lights up this dark sky. Right here and now, the feelings overtaking me. To be rid of indifference and the troubles that plagued me. And though to be it strange, it seems my fate has changed course. And everything that used to matter don't make sense anymore. 'Cause many years ago there was a one-man soul who walked the same dirt I now stand upon. And all the love he gave, all the souls he saved.
Okay, that sounded really nice too. Yet again, it's really quick to dial in a sound that you love. Now, if I was using this in context with a mix, I would be looking more closely at this reverb time and making sure that I'm setting this time based off of the BPMs of the song itself to make sure that the reverb was fading out in time with the rest of the song. But as you can see, being able to blend that reverb in there as well, using these dry and wet settings here, is a great parallel processing feature that I think will help to get any sound source dialed in a very short amount of time. All right, let's move on now to some electric guitar. So here is the electric guitar without any reverb applied. All right, let's go ahead and apply the Smart Reverb. We'll set the algorithm to guitar. Definitely was able to come up with something very useful there, and this is yet again an area where I think this reverb plugin would shine, especially for ambient style music. All right, let's listen to it now on lead guitar. Not too bad. I really like the way that it just gave it an extra layer of depth and space. I'd like to hear the width control on this lead guitar though. Let's turn that up a little bit more. Okay, so definitely 100% color is brighter. Negative 100% is definitely darker. That's good to know. And now let's turn up that clarity and let's turn that somewhere near the middle, and we should get a really good reverb sound for a lead guitar. That was pretty phenomenal. Now, this is where I feel like the plugin might actually struggle, and that's because it doesn't know whether it's an electric or an acoustic guitar. So let's see if the AI algorithms are intelligent enough to know whether this is an acoustic instrument or an electric instrument. So here's how the guitar sounds just by itself now. Let's bring in the reverb and have it learn. Okay, that was absolutely amazing. I'm blown away by how good this thing sounds. All right, up next are some strings. Now, there's nothing here that says strings, so we're going to go ahead and use universal on this one, and let's just go ahead and play it. Wow. All right, moving right along, we have the piano up next, and this one does actually have a setting for keys. So let's go ahead and see what this does to the piano. Holy smoking Joe Willies. This is what I'm talking about. So for anything ambient, anything that has a chord structure that's very sparsely populated or that's just played in such a way like this one was at a lower BPM, I really feel like this thing is just going to shine. That was amazing. I was able to take that infinite button, enable that, and make it sound as if there was almost like strings underneath that piano. So, wow. Very cool. All right, up next are some drums. Now there is a setting in here for drums as well, so let's go ahead and use that. Let's get right into it. Ooh, nice. Was able to get a really good drum sound, but as you can see, the freeze and infinite definitely don't work with every sound source. However, it did sound really good on the piano and guitars. Okay, so this next test is going to be a little bit different. We're going to go through another drum track, but this time all the kit pieces have been separated out. So if I use drums as the algorithm, it's going to have to know which kit piece that it's actually emulating. So let's go ahead and start with the kick first. Okay, now I'm going to move on to the snare. Interesting. Okay, let's go ahead and move on now to the hi-hats. Interesting again. Now, because this is a kit that's recorded with overheads, we also have the option to use the drum algorithm on overheads. That actually sounded really good. I was impressed with that. So let's move on now to this one. Same thing. Okay, here is the stereo room. Let's give this one a go. Okay, so now all of the reverb plugins are doing what they're supposed to be doing, but do they sound good together? All right, so as you can see, it was very easy for us to dial in something very quickly that was pleasing to the ear and also just worked aesthetically. One of the things that I loved is by custom fitting the reverb to the spectral and the temporal characteristics of the input signal, it seemed like that the typical problems such as disturbing resonances or muddy reverb tails were actually avoided much quicker and sooner, so it helped us to get to an end result that sounded pleasing to the ears a lot faster. Now, as promised, how can you get your hands on one of these plugins for free? Well, there is a link in the upper right-hand corner of your screen now that will take you to a page where you can enter into a giveaway to win one of 3 of these. So you have 3 different chances to win. I'm going to be giving away one of these to someone who is a subscriber on YouTube, someone who has followed me on Instagram, as well as someone who is a member of the Discord group. So if you haven't followed me on any of those social media accounts, or you haven't joined the Discord group, now would be a good time to do so. All right, everyone, until next time, remember, we can dream alone, we can even create alone, but together we can achieve so much more.